Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation, college football playoff fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. Notice I said featuring instead of featuring because we got to get moving here, man. We got places to go, people to see. It's the last several days before Christmas. We got shopping to do, interviewing to do, listening to do, honeydew to do. Am I true? Is that correct?
No question about it. But we got to address a slight alteration in the Buckeye plan, would you say?
Well, yeah, I guess we should. That's what we're going to get to right off the jump. We're not going to mess around. By the way, we will have Mondays with Matt Wilhelm, in a rare joint interview. It's Clay Hall and yours truly talking to Matt Wilhelm. We had a few gremlins in the middle of that recording, but I think we got them all chased out, right? Is that right?
Yeah, we sprayed around and we're good.
Got that straight. But bottom line is, let's get right to it. But Ohio State's getting ready to play Miami. It finally found out who it's going to play in the college football playoff semifinal, December the 31st, a.k.a. New Year's Eve at Jerry World, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, smack dab in the middle between Dallas and Fort Worth. They're going to play the Miami Hurricanes. And as I said in a tweet, matter of fact, you and I did a quick video after the Miami beat Texas A&M in one of the more forgettable football games in recent memory in terms of what was that we just watched. A rock fight would have been more apropos to call it, but they beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M and there was only one touchdown scored in the game, and it was scored by Miami on that windy day at Kyle Field in College Station, Texas. But Miami advances to the college football playoff quarterfinal, and you and I did a quick video hit after that game about this rematch. And by rematch, we meant between Ohio State and Miami in a game that really matters, right? Some people took us to task about a rematch, and I'm just going, dude, what are you talking about? Of course, 2010 and 2011 games don't count. Heck, 2010 didn't even happen according to Ohio State records because of having to expunge records. And 2011 was a quite forgettable game down there. It was the in between Jim Trussell being asked to resign and Urban Meyer taking over for 2012. It was a Luke Fickell year. All kinds of things went wrong in that game. We're talking about 2002 national championship game. Don't confuse people with 2003. The game was played the third day of 2003, but it was a 2002 national title up for grabs in the BCS, and Ohio State prevailed in double overtime in that game. So this is the first rematch of these two teams with a game that matters.
Well, I was just going to say we engaged the fans and they engaged back. I mean, we got good, I thought, good reaction off of that, and even on social where you and the guy were going to town.
Oh, I didn't go at it with him. I just said, dude, get off my porch.
Let's get back to Tempe and see what happens.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And we asked Matt and others if that game still, obviously it resonates. Will it be a factor in this game? These guys weren't born when that one was played.
Exactly.
So, anyway,
I'm doing my engineering here while we talk, and we've been talking with Ryan Day standing patiently at the dais from our press conference today. This is Monday, the 3 days left really for shopping for Christmas, and Ryan Day was at the dais, and one of the first things that matters in a lot of people's minds, I mean, I think number one is Jeremiah Smith healthy? Yeah, boy, Jeremiah Smith let us know he's healthy. He's as healthy as he's been since before he hurt his injured his quad the week of the UCLA game, played on it anyway, and maybe suffered a setback from that aspect. Didn't get to play against Rutgers, came back on pure guts almost to play against Michigan, and then, of course, played in the Big Ten championship game to no avail, even though he had 8 catches in that game. Ohio State fell to Indiana. It's only loss of the season. But the bottom line is the main thing you're concerned about right now, if you're an Ohio State fan, for whatever reason, is who's going to call plays. With Brian Hartline being named, the offensive coordinator being named the new head coach at South Florida a couple of weeks ago, but the week of the game with Indiana, something seemed to be lacking there offensively. It was more execution, I think, there was any play calling. But the bottom line is Ryan Day is Austin Ward led off with a question here. basically left it understood that now he's going to be calling plays, that indeed Brian Hartline is going to coach the receivers.
And as soon as he said Brian will coach receivers, then you knew we had a little bit of a changing of the guard there.
I think most people picked up on that a couple of weeks ago, though, when Ryan said now that they've gotten to where they want to get to, which is the playoff, a chance to win back-to-back national championships. There's a little bit of the pressure is off him from the standpoint of all the weight he was carrying in terms of the end of recruiting, the transfer portal upcoming. Now he can do a little more coaching of football, and he stepped in. Now it does appear as he'll let you know. Let's just listen to his the Q&A here before we move on.
Ryan, has anything changed with Brian? I know he was not available with the rest of the offense earlier. What's the plan moving forward there?
Yeah, so first off, we're just really happy for Brian and the opportunity he's getting. It's such a strange calendar, and the timing is brutal. But he's handled it great, as you can imagine. And so right now as we move forward, he's coaching the receivers. It's a lot on his plate. It's a lot to manage. So we're kind of taking it day to day right now, just in terms of as we move forward, going into the game. It'll be a group effort. Keenan will be very much involved. Everybody will be involved with the play calling. Ultimately, it'll be my decision. What calls go into the game. In this game, kind of wanted to take that off of Brian's plate as we head into the playoffs, because he's got so much going on with what he's trying to do. But he's working hard towards it, and we're just going to keep evaluating it every day to see what's best for the group.
You had tried to work away from that, give that up. And this was obviously not the ideal scenario for you. You've done it before, though. Do you have any reluctance to do it?
No, not at all. I do think, sometimes the best setting is, when you're up in the box and you have everything organized, as opposed to being down on the field. But, done it before, and we have a great group of guys here. Between Keenan and Billy and Tyler, Locke, this is a great group of guys, and everybody else that's part of it. So, we're going to work hard putting this game plan together. Today's a big practice for us as we move forward, and it's our job to put the guys in the best position to be successful. So, as you know, a big part of it is the organization and making sure the game plan's right and what we're doing. And then, the play calling we'll organize and make sure it's efficient.
Right next door to the Nick.
Yeah, does it help that, and by the way, is it like getting back on a bike, becoming a play caller again?
I mean,
That's not my real question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm involved with most of what goes on anyway, so we'll be good. We have good guys, and it'll be a group effort. But no, it's I think the players will tell you that we're all involved with it anyways. So
yeah,
a lot of the decisions have been made before it even happens, and I think that's part of play calling, is making sure you're organized so that when you get into situations, we already know what the call is. And when you're at your best, the players already know what the call is before it even happens. Right. So, we'll make sure we're organized and make sure, again, that it's really, really efficient.
Is it benefit that your players and everybody got to see Miami on Saturday? I mean, over the weekend, whatever day that was, and have an idea of sort of what's coming to Malachi Tony or Reuben Bain, et cetera?
Well, I think leading up to it, we knew that both teams were very good. We knew it was going to be a battle, and that's exactly what it was. I know that, the wind played into it, so there was a lot of, things in the game, that led to the way it played out. But, this is a really talented team. I mean, really talented. They got players all over the field. And so I think our guys knew that. I think they knew that both teams playing were good teams. But once you get done with the game, you finally know your plan, so that you kind of get, focused and targeted. And there's a lot of carryover. Some of the guys on our team know other guys, the guys on their team grew up around them. So they're excited. It was just an energy yesterday in the building as we got to work. And so these guys are excited to get back in here today for practice.
Absolutely, they're excited. I mean, it's kind of cool. We're having all kinds of glitches with our electronics here today, ladies and gentlemen, but so put up with us. But the bottom line is they are excited. They finally know who they're playing. You have a target now instead of like a general, let's get better. Let's get better to beat the heck out of what this team presents, right?
Right. Yeah. Bring on the Canes. I mean, it is, they're rivals. I think out of the January 03 game.
Don't confuse yourself, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to stick with 2002 national championship game.
Good.
The
All
best
right.
way of
I like
explaining
that.
it. I mean, of course, it was played in January because it's the college football season. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah. I mean, obviously, but that is, you think that has little or anything to do with it. But as Jeremiah Smith, we're going to play his take here in a minute. He's already, he's from that area.
Oh my goodness.
Grew up down there. Almost went to Miami, on signing day. Everybody remembers that, the day, as you pointed out the other day when we did our post game. Like Ryan Day buckled at getting the news. Yes, there you go. Well, he didn't grab his heart, but
He kind of did.
no, he.
All right.
But I don't think he grabbed his heart. He
All
just
right.
kind of.
I embellished.
I think he did one for real and did one to embellish it, just much like you did. But you always overact. But I digress. The bottom line is, yes, it was a big deal to get Jeremiah Smith, as anybody can see. Just like keeping Chris Henry in the fold was a big deal that same week as they were getting ready to play Indiana, all this stuff going on. And by the way, they're playing for the Big Ten championship. So what a week that was for Ryan Day and company. And of course, questions about that 2002 national championship game come up. Yep. And like we said, that's where Jeremiah Smith grew up, in that same neighborhood, so to speak. And just him talking about that, what he's hearing from down there, et cetera. And
he's hearing it.
Let's just hear what he had to say. It's pretty cool.
I got to keep my emotions. A lot of guys on this Miami team I played with or played against in high school. So I know I got to keep my emotions very high because there's going to be a little cheapness out there. So I know Coach Dave, Coach Hartline, everybody going to tell me, just keep my emotions in check and just don't get a 15-yard penalty.
And then just, in South Florida and everything, is there still animosity with Ohio State based on that 2002 national championship game?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you see all over the internet, all over Twitter, they still talking about that, 20 years later, but they still worry about it. But that's what before them come New Year's Eve.
Yeah, absolutely. He's looking forward to it. And
that's our week.
You're going to see him. I mean, a lot of things, went down after that press conference. I mean, a lot of the fans from Miami were getting on there, talking about what Jeremiah had to say about being up for the game and about how Ohio State's going to put its best foot forward, et cetera. And, but hey, we'll talk about it. Let's see what he had to say about that. And last year, I mean, he wanted, coming off that loss to Michigan last year, he wanted to be pushed harder than ever before, man. By Brian Hartline. We've already talked about Brian Hartline's role in this game and stuff. And, Jeremiah kind of hints that Keenan Bailey is taking some of the responsibilities in terms of dealing with these guys on a day-to-day basis as they get ready for the bowl game or for the quarterfinal game. I get bowl games, quarterfinals mixed up. I mean, they play 3 bowl games if they're happy this year. But the bottom line is he talks about wanting to still be pushed harder. Now he's back basically 100% health-wise. And he kind of talks about Keenan Bailey and what Brian Hartline have meant in that regard. But then he kind of goes on. You can hear what he says here.
Sure, I mean, I talked with Keenan Bailey. I mean, I know Coach Hartline will always continue to push me hard no matter what it is. But y'all always still want to be pushing. Now I'm trying to crank it up a little bit because now it's time to win another 90 rounds.
What's the motivation like for you guys coming out of the Indiana game, and just what jumps out when you look at this Miami defense?
Miami defense is pretty good defense. That front is something special. We got Ruben Bang, got 2 good DNs, got a good interior, got a good back end. The linebackers are very good. And our mentality right now is just go out and just dominate everybody in front of us. We left a bad taste in our mouth against Indiana in the Big Ten championship. So obviously, we got to do better. Got to score in the red zone. We got to just capitalize on everything that we do from here on out.
There you go. That was it in a nutshell. They didn't do that against Indiana. They've revamped. They've looked at some things in terms of scheme. They've also looked at some things in terms of doing your job, finishing your job, execute, all that cliche stuff people talk about football. But it's right, man. One guy doesn't do his job and things blow up. One bad call, play-wise, and things blow up. I mean, you don't want things blowing up in a national quarterfinal, right?
Now, people want to see him. that early touchdown in the Rose Bowl against Oregon, when he just went like a madman and he was possessed. It was such a strong, it was such an intimidating type touchdown catch and run. He's got 80 catches, 11 TDs. So much more to come, and he's fully healthy and do it again, right? That's what they want.
Yeah, bottom line is like that play. I mean, the couple of better scripted plays you've ever seen was a wide screen to G. Scott, followed by the little, I called it a drag route, but basically a drag across the middle where the Oregon defense was slow to react. And Jeremiah Smith catches it on the run, cuts it up, runs in between two tacklers, and is gone. You're talking about the Oregon touchdown, which really set the things in motion.
Man.
He was so motivated for that game based on the way the regular season meeting had gone, including that what he thought was a pretty bogus offensive pass interference call against him when it looked like Ohio State was going to go down and steal that win.
No
Instead,
doubt.
he got beat by 1 point by Oregon and took a little bit of the shine off that Ohio State team. But the bottom line is, yeah, he's motivated. I mean, you know, he tried to. I mean, you got to give him credit for coming back and trying to play, or playing against UCLA, even though he was banged up, and then which caused him to miss the next week's game against Rutgers this year. But it's funny, I think the Saturday or Sunday right there around that Rutgers game, when that weekend of that Rutgers game, is when his quad started to feel a lot better. Not ever 100%, but better. And he rose from there, and now we're sitting there. He played against against Michigan, and he played against Indiana, and now he's feeling close to 100%. That's pretty good considering it looks like Carnell Tate's doing the same, right?
They turned him loose in that Michigan game. Every one of their top flight receivers had a touchdown catch.
Yep.
Brandon Ennis on the sneaky one down there on the goal line, the little slant.
Yep.
And
it's not a rub if nobody saw it.
That's right. And the move that Jeremiah made on the Michigan DB and just left him and enabled him to get separation and the score. And then, of course, to Tate, the 50-yard bomb that through the snow was that'll be remembered a long time.
Absolutely. You know, with their intent in mind for this game, I mean, Patrick Murphy asked Jeremiah, you know, for the team. I mean, it's been a long time since they played. And how, you know, the question now is how are you going to keep that edge, that honed edge that you need for a game of this caliber? Because as we all know, all four top seeds last year in the college football playoffs in the quarterfinal they all four lost in the quarterfinal games. And because, you know, some of it had to be the fact that you had almost a month off since the last time you played, so you weren't game ready, so to speak. As I think it's Booger McFarland or somebody referred to it as, there's a fine line between rest and rust, and he's absolutely right. But let's just see what Jeremiah had to say about how the team, he thinks, because Ryan Day addressed it with the team. You know, like you'll hear him talk about it. Practices weren't as crisp near the end of the regular season as they maybe were earlier in the year, et cetera. Because, you know, guys I hate to bring this to people, they're human beings.
I was just about to say.
You know, it
happens.
Yeah. I mean, what? We're doing what again? Huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, not that it was that to that extent.
No,
but
I mean,
the crispness there was not there like you'd seen it in the past against, for example, against Indiana. So let's see what Jeremiah Smith had to say about that.
I mean, just, you know, the way we practice, that's really the biggest thing. I mean, even Coach Day came out and said that practice towards the end of the year wasn't as intense as it was in the beginning of the year. So I feel like the way we practice, you know, over the last, you know, week and a half has been very intense. We've been flying around everywhere, having good energy. So that's really the biggest thing, you know, just keeping our edge the way we practice.
Yeah, just
the edge.
Yeah, just don't be hitting him in the knee or anything, or the lower thigh. Let him roll along with Carnell Tate, right? This is an interesting experiment because we're going to talk to Matt Wilhelm about this in just a minute. But keeping your edge on a long layoff, we saw the 2002 team do that. They had over a month between their final game against Michigan the weekend of Thanksgiving and when they played Miami on January the 3rd. I think that was the correct date. But for the national championship, the 2002 national championship out at the Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. Then it had moved to the Dome. But the bottom line is these guys are human beings, and to think they're going to be necessarily, I mean, keep your fingers crossed, right? But to think you're going to be hitting on all cylinders right out of the gate after such a long layoff is a little bit to ask, right?
Yeah, just don't let Miami get ahead of you. Don't be looking at their cleats running past you. Settle down, figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to bring pressure. I think Ohio State's defense will hold up well. It's protecting Julian Sayin and all that beef on the Miami defensive front. Ruben Bain, Justin Scott, so on. Akeem Mesidor is another guy who can wreak some havoc.
Amen.
And they did, boy, against A&M. So, settle in.
You're running out of words?
Well, it's just I'm starting to get the fans' nerves going here. But you're right. I mean, it's like you've done, if you haven't picked up your 3-wood in a while, try to hit that pure about 200 yards to reach the green on the, par 5, whatever.
Grab the 7-iron, hit it up, lay up.
Okay.
But as Ryan Day pointed out, man, this is going to be a game about scoring touchdowns.
That's
You
right.
got to score touchdowns in the red zone. Everybody can, and you're okay. You're factual when you say Jaden Fielding missed that gimme 27-yard field goal, but it happens. And we saw it happen. They would have tied the game against Indiana. Bottom line is that was the second of 2 trips inside the 10-yard line where Ohio State got 0. 1 touchdown on either of those 2 trips changes the whole dynamic of that game, as we all know. So much less a couple other opportunities where they blew it and settled for a field goal. So it is what it is. You got to, like I keep saying, touchdowns are the currency of the realm, especially in games like this that are upcoming. Field goals are just that jingling you have in your pocket, the change. And matter of fact, they're doing away with pennies. That's how much the federal government thinks of jingling, because pennies cost a hell of a lot more to make than they are worth. And you got to stem that tide somehow, some way.
Yeah, I just hope that more of a controlled passing game will get those guys.
We'll get into game planning next week. I'm just messing with you, Coach.
You're messing with me.
I'm messing with you, Coach.
What's next?
You're already envisioning that
on the agenda.
Yeah, one more thing from Jeremiah. Joey Kaufman asked him, what was that stretch in November like when he got hurt? Because he's never really been hurt.
Nothing like that.
And I don't think he thought it was as serious as it was to begin with. A quad, what's a quad, but, he can give you part and parcel to what it all means, the injury that he had and tried to play through, probably a little bit of a mistake, just because I keep telling everybody, this guy is a football player, man. I mean, he wants to play every game. He wants to be with his team. He wants to contribute mightily to the effort, whatever that takes. But let's get to what he had to say about that.
That like for you? How hard was that? What was your experience like?
Just the adversity, I should say. Something I never really had to deal with. I don't really be hurt or nothing like that. Nothing really bothers me, but that was something serious I had to deal with. After that, was it Rutgers week? I was feeling down. I was like, I don't know, I'm going to play against Team of North. So I was debating if I was going to play or not because it was really bad and if I was going to be able to play. But I had to do everything for the team, and I wanted to be out there, and I did everything I could, and we got the win. So.
And what kind of injury were you dealing with?
I was dealing with a quad strain. It's called rectus femoris, something like that, I should say. But I really put been out 3 to 4 weeks, and for me to be able to pull that off, I gave all the glory to God for that one.
I love how he swung his right leg around like he has full use of it now. And I don't know if you can see it in that video. Heck, how far I know, it might have been his left leg now. I think it was his right, but the bottom line is he's ready to go, man. I mean, you can tell by his comments, et cetera. And so that's the emotion they're dealing with right now. Like we're talking about keeping their edge. The other part of it is they want to go play.
Well, he said we got
the chip on their shoulder is real.
We got something for you. So.
Yeah, but the chip on their shoulder is real coming off that Indiana game when they know. I mean, they should be not that they're looking at it from this ego standpoint, but they know that everybody should be looking at them as the team supreme right now because they know it. But they know it. I mean, they know they blew a chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter till the end, but it does matter because they've had one chance at a championship so far this year, and they lost it.
Yep.
They lost to Indiana. And just because offensively they couldn't finish down in the red zone. And also because defensively, when they had the lead, they did have the lead in that game. People forget.
10-6.
You know, as Bobby Bowden said, if you got the lead defense, you keep them scoreless, we win. So, like I said many times, the blame to go around in that rests on all three things: offense, defense, special teams. The fact that they didn't get out of there with a victory, or at least playing in overtime against Indiana. So Indiana's number 1, Ohio State's number 2. They're both going to be rising from the mat, et cetera. Follow my drift there?
Yes.
And we're going to be going to the mat here in just a second. Go ahead.
I hope on January 20 that Teen Supreme is more than a pizza order.
There you go.
That they bring it on home.
Please hold the anchovies.
Yeah. I don't do anchovies. I eat Supreme, throw it, the works, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And
well, hey, let's get to what my buddy Mondays with Matt. Let's get to what he has to say about this football team right now, but also about who they're playing, remembering that 2002 build up to the national championship game. And back then, ladies and gentlemen, you only had to win one. You only had to win one to be Team Supreme. BCS, the days of the BCS in Ohio State in 2002, second year under Jim Trussell, got the job done with daring do by so many guys, including Craig Krenzel, Chris Gamble, Maurice Claret, Matt Wilhelm, Mike Doss the boss, C. Grant. I'm not going to name everybody on the team. Will Smith Sr.,
Simon Frazier, I think.
Simon Frazier
had a sack.
But the bottom line is, I mean, wow, what a moment that was in college football history. Talk about rekindling the echoes, et cetera. It was crazy.
Baby.
First true national championship since 1968, and now it seems like they're in once a decade at least. 2002, 2014, 2024. Maybe it'll be twice in 2 years. Unprecedented for Ohio State.
Wow.
Of course, we saw Georgia do it just a few years ago.
They did.
But let's get to Matt Wilhelm's thoughts on Miami, the team they're playing, what he remembered a little bit about that 2002 game. And hey, and by the way, a little bonus stuff when he runs into a former Miami player or two. What happens? It's pretty interesting because there's nothing like having Trump power,
the upper hand.
And by that, I don't mean the president. I mean having a Trump card. Well, hey, look what we did, et cetera. So without further ado, let's get to our conversation with Matt Wilhelm. Oh, my goodness. As usual, one of my favorite, no offense, Clay, one of my favorite parts of the week, maybe my favorite part of the week is conversations with Matt. Mondays with Wilhelm. Then one day was Mondays with Matt, Wednesdays with Wilhelm. We were going to do Tuesdays with Tyler, right? But we're back to Mondays with Matt. But the fly in the ointment has got Clay Hall with me, Matt. Say hi to Clay.
Hey, Clay. Great to be with you guys as always.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Honored to be with you. I've got many questions. The question is, how many of these will I get to ask?
That is the good question. That may be the best question of the day, but let's get right in it, Matt. I mean, this Ohio State-Miami matchup, we all know, as I like to say, you showed me that example after that game against Miami. It wouldn't have gone to overtime. You only got one finger on it. If you got two on that severe field goal attempt, it would have never gone to overtime. The first time these guys, well, it wasn't the first time these guys ever played, but the one that mattered, 2002 national championship game in Fiesta, the Fiesta Bowl, Tempe, in Tempe, Arizona, Sun Devil Stadium. But the bottom line is, what a brouhaha that was, and you guys won out. And now all of a sudden, obviously they've played Miami since then, twice really, 2010 and 11, kind of forgettable games in their own right. Matter of fact, one doesn't even exist in Ohio State history because they had to give it back. The tattoo gate, one of the tattoo gate penalties. But the bottom line is, are you psyched for this game? You got to watch Miami a little against Texas A&M over the weekend, I'm sure. And just what's your take on this matchup going into it?
I'm absolutely excited. I think, anytime we have Ohio State playing in such a high stakes type of football game, there's a level of excitement about it. I think, like most of Buckeye Nation, to your point, going back to the 2010, 2011, they skip right to the 2002 game because
Yeah.
it was a game versus a similar opponent that mattered so much. But yes, watched most, if not all, of the Miami Texas A&M game, and I think. First and foremost, and again, I guess I'll jump right into it, is I think that I found myself, not even egotistically as a Buckeye, but just as a football guy watching that game with the way that it was going. And I said, and I actually texted this to a few of my buddies, a cousin, a friend, who were both Buckeye fans that are just more than just fans, but love ball. And I
Yeah.
went, am I wrong? But are we a 10 to 14 point better football team than either of these two? That at its core is what, as I watched the game, and again, even still, with the lasting impression in my brain was the Buckeye team that showed up against Indiana. I still went, we're double-digit points better than either of these two football teams.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, as you and I've talked about, following the Indiana game, the recipe to keep a game close against Ohio State and maybe force Ryan Day and these coaches and players into pressure situations to have to make the plays, make the play call, make those decisions late into a football game is a recipe to potentially beat the Buckeyes. And then I even go furthermore one step, and we'll probably talk about this a lot, is the line of scrimmage. That the line of scrimmage was in question, kind of on both sides for Ohio State against Indiana. Did we win both sides? You can say we won in spots and in little pockets. And I think the same can be said of Indiana. I will go immediately to the way in which Mario Cristobal wants to build this football team. What he talked about after the victory against Texas A&M was, we started building this roster in the trenches.
Right.
And so Ohio State's ability to run the football, Ohio State's ability to protect Julian Sand, and on the flip side, our ability to affect Carson Beck, who's not a superior athlete. And I think, again, now, Texas A&M also put out a great template of how to affect Carson Beck and limit his ability to throw the football down the field. So going to be a great game, and we're just getting started now.
By the way, real quick for Clay's just itching to ask you a question. He has been for months now, but and by the way, he thought he had a eureka moment when he thought this is going to come down to the trenches. I mean, we all know every game comes down to the trenches. Did you see him hold his hands up? But
I did.
But the bottom line is, Mario Cristobal. People, remember in 2020, was it 2020, 2021, when he brought that Oregon team in, which he had also started to rebuild from the trenches out. And we all know how they held sway in Ohio Stadium. Not the same team. I know Oregon and Miami should never be misidentified for each other. Yeah. But the bottom line was that was what he started doing there. And every really good football coach knows that's where you start building, right? And I'm impressed by their front four up front on defense and their offensive line. Go ahead, Clay.
Oh, well, that's to me, the key to the whole game is dealing with that front four. I mean, there were troubles with IU's pressure, and Carson Hensman and Julian Sand talked today about protections, communication, being on the same page. We've worked on that. But would you give that Miami front an edge over the Ohio State offensive line?
After going back and watching the Indiana Ohio State game again, we struggled to run the ball consistently until the second half. We struggled a lot of the night to protect Julian Sand, and I think you marry that up with the back end of that Indiana was kind of like tinkering with some of the looks pre-snap and post-snap for Julian Sand, so he was confused and holding the ball a little bit longer than expected. When I watch Miami, I think the advantage Miami has is probably their defensive line is going to probably have an advantage collectively over our offensive line. I do believe, as I said, as I watched the Miami and Texas A&M game go on, that Marcel Reed and they got some runs here and there against that Miami defensive front. So I think we can open up some holes, but I think that's a key for us is get Bo Jackson and Isaiah West and Peoples going on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that, along with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah and Julian saying accurately delivering the football, is how I believe we win this football game. And I mean, well, partially because on the flip side, you look at the recipe that Texas A&M put up against Carson Beck and a very talented Miami offense, and they were extremely limited until late. And so, and again, all the pundits that are out there, nationally accredited, are giving Ohio State and Matt Patricia an amazing advantage defensively to kind of stymie Carson Beck in that Miami offense.
Yeah. And you got to keep in mind that there was a big time wind blowing in that game that we got to watch on Saturday. Obviously at Texas A&M Kyle Field in College Station, Texas. And so you have to keep that a little bit of a grain of salt in mind too, right? It kind of, some teams get more limited by something like that than others, right?
Absolutely. I think, you figure the kicking game, the 4-down situation decisions by coaches.
Yeah.
I think the broadcast team did a good job of really documenting Mike Elko's kind of like conundrum of two kickers, one that's been super consistent and very good to the program, but yet inconsistent this season. So they went to the other guy, and then one kid's a head case. And so they're going to, it's kind of like, which club are you hitting better today is the one that you're going to hit in from 150 yards. I do think, the wind was definitely a factor. It was probably set itself up as the game went on, and it was as ugly as it was and as close as it was that everybody was going to play it closer to the vest because it was such a high stakes game for both universities.
Yeah. Back to that one follow-up, back to that war in the trenches. In passing situations, would you leave a back end to block full time or just chip every now and then to get the ball out of Sayan's hands? Because if he can't get it to Tate or Smith, I think you're in trouble.
I think given that we've had a lot of time to maybe practice without even knowing our opponent, that might've been, 3 or 4 days worth of practice, plus the preparation for who we're going to play, because, Texas A&M was also a great front as well and was going to have, some of their own game wreckers, hunting down a quarterback. I think you're going to be able to do both. I think you're going to try to go out early in the game although it's a high stakes game, the stakes early in the game allow you to dictate and kind of like feel your way through how you want to protect Julian Sayin. And here's the reason why I say that is I think chipping out, or in some cases like scat releasing that back. Mm-hmm. We've seen Bo Jackson after Sayin goes read 1, read 2, read 3, hits Bo Jackson out in the flat, for a 1-yard throw, but a 9-yard run after catch, which moves those chains, because you're afraid of Jeremiah's ability to take the top off of defense. You're afraid of those deep digs that Carnell Tate can run so well, which is why he's such a highly rated prospect by a lot of NFL pundits. You got Max Clare, out in the flat, the boots and waggles. I think that we see Brian Hartline as a play caller go to when he just needs to calm things down and kind of like make an easy throw for Julian and not just go straight drop back. So I think you protect with 5 early, but have practiced and are ready to chip out the back and or keep the back in if you're struggling, just blocking, the 4, maybe 5 rushers with 5 offensive linemen.
Hey, Matt, that's what I wanted to ask you about. Ryan Day basically let us know he's calling plays for the Cotton Bowl. In essence, this isn't a demotion necessarily. Degradation maybe is the word I'm looking for. But Brian Hartline is going to coach the wide receivers going into this game and during the game, et cetera. So, you and I were talking about it last week. He kind of had to get that clarified, right? I mean, for a lot of people, including even the players, of like, for one of another term, who's in charge of the offense. Now, I always know the head coach is in charge, but who's in charge of the offense? Who's putting it together? All the coaches are on that same page now. And like you and I've talked about, Brian Hartline's not just calling plays out of thin air. I mean, he's calling plays that everybody's agreed upon. Ryan Day went through that whole litany again today when we got to talk to him about how you put together a game plan and you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 options, depending on what the situation is, et cetera, that you as an offensive staff have agreed to and whatever. But just you as a player, Are you glad to hear that they've delineated what it's going to be like for the Cotton Bowl and moving forward? If in fact they win that game and move forward, about what the coaching pecking order is going to be, for want of another term.
Yes, I think it's great that they have figured it out, and everyone's on board for the betterment of this 2025 football team attempting to continue their season and potentially play in and win a national championship. The one other thing that I'll also find myself going back to my playing days, at least at the college level, is I don't necessarily, now the coaches might feel like they owe it to the players, but if everyone on board has the best interest of attempting to go out and win this football game, I don't give a shit who the play caller is, to be very honest with you. Whether it's Bowen's calling the run plays and Hartline's calling the pass plays and Ryan Day's green lighting certain calls and interjecting in certain, I don't really care, because when the game plan is constructed and your position coach is actually the one that delivers you that game, I'll say offense coordinator kind of gives you the 10,000, maybe 5,000 foot view.
Yeah.
But your position coach spoon feeds you the routes, the concepts, and the why behind this game plan.
Yeah.
Who's on the headset calling it in is really more so for you and I to maybe talk about.
Right.
And then maybe also, if it doesn't go well, we have a chance to, second guess after the fact and throw, spit wads and,
tomatoes.
Paper at. So at the end of the day, this is, again, especially at a place like Ohio State, with this culture and the brotherhood and the belief that they have to be able to go out and win every game that they play, you as a player, and when I say that, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old, you don't care who's calling the plays.
Yeah.
Now, when a livelihood is potentially at stake, and I'm maybe in my fourth year in the NFL, I'm looking for an extension, and you have a run-heavy play caller, and I'm a receiver, I'm going to care who's actually calling the plays, because I want the guy who's going to throw me the football the most, because I want to go out and make my money. So in this case, it's a collective effort by all hands on deck to have a say. The fact that they dialed it in, buttoned it up, and owe it to the players to convey that information, that's awesome. But at the end of the day, if we didn't know who was calling the plays and they went out and won, would the win be more or less satisfying? No. At this point, it's win or go home. So
bingo.
In some cases, we are, you guys get access to coaches and players so often. You ask questions to just want to be in the know. Sometimes we don't need to know. And it's none of our business, as long as they go out and deliver the product that we're proud of as a Buckeye fan.
Matt, in keeping with the more Ryan, less Brian, to me, it takes away from Ryan as the CEO and seeing the whole game and getting his face in the play sheet. And I think it's helped him a great deal that he is the boss and he's seeing the whole game, every play, and he's not calling it. Does that damage them in any way?
I don't believe so. And I think you've heard Ryan Day for a long time, and he's not the only one, but I think Ryan Day takes an immense amount of pride in the people that he brings into Ohio State to develop the football players. So that's the assistant coaches. And I know a lot of that's been a conversation because, what Saban has done in the Saban tree and what exists in college football because of Nick Saban as a head football coach at Alabama and what he's been able to produce. Ryan Day is getting around to that same kind of template. And you have Brian Hartline leave to go take a head coaching job. And so I think that Ryan Day, given the growth that he as a coach, the hurdles that were overcome last year in winning a national championship, and that kind of that gorilla, or I'll call it a monkey. The gorilla kind of jumped off the back this year, beating Michigan, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But they're positioned themselves to exactly where they want to be, which is inside the college football playoff. They earned a first round bye, and they have an opportunity to move forward. And if they play their best football, you and I both know we have an immense belief that they can be unbeatable and go win another national championship. So I don't think this is the time, because this team is now delivered to the right spot, that the CEO needs to be Ryan Day, that if he wants to take off a hat and put on another now and be the play caller, it is fine in this moment, because the leaders and the role players have all been figured out over the course of the 13 or 14 week season, where it's like now it's like they know it's business. And again, it goes back to my point a minute ago. It doesn't really matter who's calling the plays, as long as the players are on board to go execute their jobs.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. You know, Ryan, they said as much a couple of weeks ago. I mean, now they've in essence gotten to where they wanted to get to by hook or crook. Obviously, losing to Indiana was not part of the plan, but they're still in a bye. They still earned a bye. They're still playing for the national championship as we speak. I wanted to, you and I touched on this in last week's show, but I wanted to bring this up to you again, but in a different way. So now, what is the challenge now? I'm thinking when you're waiting, because when y'all waited to play Miami, you knew you were going to play Miami for a month and a half. It seemed like it probably seemed like 3 years, but now that you got to watch them play, I'm talking about as a player over the past weekend, does it reinvigorate you of the task at hand? If you follow my drift of what's going to be asked of you on December the 31st in terms of the intensity you've got to bring. Does it kind of help fill in the gap between in the wait, if you follow my drift there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's you're always chomping at the bit for the next challenge, right? And for a little while there, for a period of time, it was an unknown what that challenge was going to be, because it could be one team or the other team. Now that you know who that is, you kind of like you really dial in and start to get all. And again, it'll be interesting to see what are the cut-ups and what games do they want to break down to prepare and game plan against Miami?
Yes.
Is it the teams that have beat Miami, like the Louisville game, the SMU game, and maybe the A&M plan, and maybe 2 other games that makes the 5-game breakdown that you're going to study, the offensive line, defensive line, or is it the ones where they were just dominant, and you can kind of showcase what they're capable of, and when Miami's rolling, what do you have to be prepared for? I think so. That's my first, take is absolutely you're excited once you kind of dialed in on exactly who you're going to play. Second of all, I think, and this is just maybe putting on my former player hat, is I love the fact that the team that you're going to go play, and I'll just say this as a former player with confidence, that like it goes back to my opening point, is I watch that game and I go, we're double digits better than both of these teams. So that, not overconfidence or ego. It's like, that's the way in which you watch that film. If I was a player, after 12-1 Buckeye team, I go, if we do our job and we play our best, I don't want to say we'll blow this team out. We'll beat this Miami football team.
Let me follow up on that. So,
sure.
Ryan has said that all along. That Ohio State, the challenge is playing your best. And I'm paraphrasing here, but in essence, your best should be good enough. I mean, so that goes. I never thought about it from a player standpoint, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing to think along those lines. But it really does make sense, right? I mean, yeah.
And I'll even go back to just go back, and something we've kind of talked about throughout the season is St. Edward High School. We're playing in the state semifinals against Olentangy Orange, who again beat us. I don't want to study their blowout wins. I want to study who played them tough. I want to study who almost beat them. I want to study what they struggled with, because, especially as a player, and I'm sure, Coach Day, Hartline, Bowen, Patricia we're going to be who we are, because who we are is good enough, but you're also going to blend in some of the things that they struggle with or have struggled with. And that's why I also go back to, flip it on its head, is Miami's going to do the same thing. They're going to watch that Indiana game and go, if we can keep it close, if we can force a turnover early, if we can make this a game in the fourth quarter, put these guys in a position they've never been before. And again, with immense belief, the same way that Ohio State has belief in their self to deliver, Miami does too. Let's just get the ball to our playmakers and make that one more play, get that one more turnover, and so on. And I think it's, the opportunity to win this football game.
You got somebody stepping in there?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Can we flip it, Matt, from Ohio State's offense trying to attack their D to the fact that, do you see Mark Fletcher Jr. as a threat? I mean, the guy's a bull. 6'2", 225. Tim reminds me he was committed to Ohio State early on. I mean, he keyed the entire game-tying drive to get them
no doubt
down on the goal line. Do you think they can run the football against Ohio State's front four or front seven?
I don't see them doing it consistently throughout the football game. I think in small little pockets, and I think this is the one thing that Tim and I have talked about all season long. And it'll be interesting to see what Miami does. Is a lot of teams have a specific script or some new concepts or new things they want to see maybe on that first or second drive. And I think it's also in most of the football games, it's when the teams that Ohio State has played against our defense is they make their most weight on that first drive.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little vanilla. We're feeling them out. They're running new concepts or new runs, and they're making some yards, but then they get down the red zone. We constrict. They end up kicking a field goal, or we get a 4-down stop, or they miss the field goal, and we get the ball back, and we all kind of know what happened for the most part from that point forward. But the Fletcher kid is tough. But I also believe, looking at like mano a mano, our D line and their offensive line are going to be a wash. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I look at our second level players, and I'm going to include Caleb Downs in that as well, because he plays in the box, as kind of as much as he does, in that deep middle safety part. I'm going to take Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, and Caleb Downs getting Fletcher to the ground, more often than him breaking that tackle or running away from us, as you said, as a big back. Than maybe we saw against Texas A&M on that very crucial drive that led to a touchdown. So, which I think as we work through this game, the Carson Beck that we saw this year in a Miami uniform is not the Carson Beck that we saw pre-injury at the University of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, and I also think they're, the way that Texas A&M constricted the pass game of Miami, and that they're so reliant, again, they're relying upon a punt return. I think that turned into a field goal and a touchdown from Tony, the freshman. So they're relying upon some playmakers, but I think we match them very well.
Hey, I wanted to ask you that. This is I could save this till next week, but I want to ask it now. Maybe I'll ask it again next week. But when you got a guy like Malachi Tony, the guy you're talking about,
yep.
I mean, lightning can strike at any moment. He obviously had that great punt return. And we know what he did. He scored the only touchdown in the game. And wow, what a play, the way he cut up and just exploded down the right sideline there for like 8 yards, 10 yards. But when you got a player like that, who's not only fast, but he has football, he's playing football out there. Just you as a defender, what do you have to keep in mind with a guy like that on the field, I guess, Matt? I mean, as a whole defense, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, what's going to be a key topic for, I'll say the linebackers and the back end is studying where he lines up.
Correct.
If they move him around, which, again, I haven't watched enough Miami to determine, I'm sure they do.
But they did the other day, so they're going to do that at least.
So
Go ahead.
They're going to chess piece him, and then what he does when he's where, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And you start to learn that cadence and that flow. And then also, as you study the quarterback, where is he at in the progression? Is he progression number one? Do they read low to high? Do they read high to low? And then I think it's, what Miami's always going to do with their playmakers and what, great teams do. I think it's what we do with Carnell Tate. It's what we do with Jeremiah. When you see, the jet pass and the bubble screens and the thing, it's how can we get our playmakers the ball in space quickly? Mm-hmm. Because we all both know, because we watched it all, or all three of us have watched it all year, how great our defense is. There's not going to be a lot of space. And we're very good at constricting. We're very good at getting guys to the ground. I think, Sonny Styles, 0 missed tackles all year. That's unreal playing in the Big Ten, especially in the landscape right now with the read offense, the spread offense that most colleges in some capacity run. So I think it's really studying where he's at and what he does when he's where. And then also how they kind of complement him with some of their concepts. And that's part of what having these extra days is really about.
Yep. Moise, go ahead, Clay.
You guys alluded to it a little bit. These guys at Miami were growing up, and they may have heard about that 02 or 03 national championship game. Do you think it, and maybe they heard it a lot in the neighborhood, but do you think that's a factor for them? Like they're trying to settle a score that's 23 years old?
If anything, and again, I'm gonna say this like tongue in cheek and like make and kind of have fun is like, the wild man Michael Irvin on the sideline.
Yes.
You know what I mean? As an alum who's passionately backing this football program.
Yes.
If these young men who, again, were not alive, all of them
Right.
weren't alive when that game was played. The alumni that still have an immense amount of pride about that program. And I just named Michael Irvin because he's, you see him going crazy, BTAing with a belt and an A&M jersey on a trash bucket on a sideline, indirectly embarrassing himself while also being applauded for it. Is those guys will fill in those players on what this game means. Because, shoot, I have the 11 Warriors t-shirt that says we broke the U going back to 2002. And it's like, and I hate to say it, it's like not just me or just Ohio State, but since that game, Miami football has 23 years out of 25 kind of been irrelevant. In either the Big East or the ACC, which is predominantly the weakest conference of the Power Four. So I'm not trying to say it has anything to do with the game that we won and how we won it and how we played and that we were the opponent. I'm just going to say it's awfully coincidental, that they haven't been right in a very long time. And I think that the alumni base, to kind of bring it all full circle, and I've kind of said it, is that the alumni base and the people associated with that program that have a lot of pride will point back to that game. But I don't in any way, shape, or form think it influences the play of those players on the field.
Hey, real quick. So have you run into, over the 23 years, have you run into any former Miami players who have brought up the pass interference, the late call? Really, it wasn't as late as you think. If the guy had stayed off the fireworks machine just a split second longer, you know what I mean? But who have you run into that really, I don't know, is getting you going, even yourself right now, who keeps bringing that up like history should be changed? Yeah.
Well, first of all, every guy, well, if they know that I'm an Ohio State guy,
right,
they walk up to me and go, "That was a bunch of bullshit." Right.
The
most recent was actually in August. Former teammate of mine, Antonio Gates, Kent State Golden Flash, San Diego Charger, one of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I was at Antonio Gates's after party, and Andre Johnson's there. Okay. Andre Johnson, I think, was a gold jacket year before, 2 years ago, whatever it was. And I go, you know what? And maybe it was just, and again, I don't find myself I'm not a fanboy by any means, but I would just go, you know what? I'm just going to take this opportunity, just like take this knife and just kind of jab it in his side and just go, hey, you don't know me, but I know you. Right. Yeah. Because when someone's like got a gold jacket, I'm like, I played in the NFL, but it's like a whoop-de-doo dude, you know what I mean? To a guy that's got a gold jacket, because there's only like 280 of them in the whole world.
Yeah.
And I took the time to walk up and go, hey, bud, I go, Matt Wilhelm, play with Gates, I got to tell you, I was on the 2002 national championship when we beat you guys. And he was like, oh, and it was just like, he was like, hell no, get away from me. It's like, so it is still an immense thorn in their side because it's, they were historical on how good they were, and also winning the 2001 national championship. I think it was 24 games in a row. And I think in some cases, to go back to, my prior comment, is they also know, for whatever reason, that their proud university that was so great for so long has not been the same. And all arrows kind of point back to what happened, on that night in Tempe, Arizona.
Did you ever run into Kellen Winslow Jr.? I mean, much?
Not for, before he went off the deep end.
Right.
He,
deep end's one way of putting it.
His dad lived in, his dad, a Charger legend. He'd be out in San Diego training in the offseason. I think he resided out there as well. And we would play, me, Gates, LaDainian Tomlinson, Kellen Winslow, and a couple of, like Vincent Jackson, a bunch of other players. We play basketball together in the offseason. But it was very touch and go. Again, they want to avoid it like the plague, and I want to stand on my soapbox and talk about it for a half hour.
Yeah, yelled from the corner. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Wilhelm would be a great town crier. I'm just throwing it out there. Hey, Matt, appreciate it, man. We'll see you again next week if you got the time, because we'll get a little. I know we got into the nitty gritty there a lot on this one, but there's a lot to kind of break down in this. And the main thing is, I'll leave people hanging here a little bit, but what does it mean when you've got a chip on your shoulder as a player? We'll get into that next week. You follow me, just because this Ohio State team knows it did not bring the goods the last time we saw them play against Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. And like you pointed out without saying it, and Ryan Day's even alluded to it, I mean, this team could have comfortably won that game if it had taken care of opportunities, but it did not. So I want to get into that with you, just on what having a chip on your shoulder really means, or does it mean anything at all? You willing to do that?
Absolutely. You got it. Of course. And it's like, and that's the one thing. This is and we talked about it last year at this very same time.
Yep.
When I don't say you're backed into a corner, but I mean, it's win or go home.
Yep.
So all 13 games prior to this, while also bring their own satisfaction, beating that team up north, big hurdle for this football team, not winning the Big Ten championship, which you just talked about, but the big one that we've heard Will Howard and Jack Sawyer say they'd rather have than beating that team up north is still in play. And if they don't go take care of business, they have the unsatisfaction of sitting back, angry and disgruntled, and some of them, never putting on the scarlet and gray ever again, to watch in some cases. And that's kind of what I feel like even at St. Ed's is like someone else pick up your trophy. Someone else wear the rings that you thought were going to put on your finger because you were that team this year.
That's what we're going to touch on, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Wilhelm was part of a Super Bowl run way back when and won the Super Bowl. So the bottom line is he knows both things about just one game mattering, whether you win a championship or several games. So, Matt, hey, we'll see you again next week, my man.
You got it, guys. Thanks. Great to be with you both.
Appreciate you, Matt.
I'll tell you what, Clay, always a pleasure talking to my man, Matt Wilhelm.
Always.
I think you agree with that 148%.
Thanks for letting me hop on with the group.
Yes, and
defense is
on top of that. We're going to be talking to him again next week as the game. It'll just be days before the Ohio State Miami quarterfinal at Jerry World, as we've already said, in Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium. It's kind of been Ohio State's a little bit of a home away from home here recently. They've gotten there at least once a year, a few times. But the bottom line is, we appreciate you folks listening. We enjoy talking football, and we enjoy bringing some of these interviews to you in piecemeal fashion. And I guess until next week, we'll be talking to you later this week. I was thinking more of Mondays with Matt, the Mondays with Matt format. But no, we're going to be talking to you.
A couple more coming.
We'll be talking to him Christmas Eve, right? Coming up, and then again on Friday. I will give you advance warning. The one on Friday is going to be pre-recorded. That's for dang sure.
It was.
Am I right about that?
37 minutes of it.
Exactly. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tim May. That's Clay Hall. This has been the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. And until Wednesday, until Christmas Eve, we'll see you then.
Adios.
Shh. By the way, Clay has left the room. I wanted to let you folks in on a real bargain out there in the world of simulator golf. The Back Nine Golf, which is located at 2820 Fishinger Road in Upper Arlington, has a hell of a holiday box available to you right now. The value is nearly $300, but your price is $150 if you jump online. That's almost 50% off if you jump online at Columbus at theback9golf.com. That's their email address. Their website is theback9golf.com/Columbus-upper-Arlington-OH/ That's a long address, but just write it down a couple times watching it. And you can also call them at 614-362-7888, parentheses PUTT, PUTT. But the bottom line is one of the new ultra modern simulators that you can find in the greater Columbus area. And it's really right there in the middle of Upper Arlington. I know Tito Thidoff and I hopped in there the other day. I think it was 16 degrees outside. There was snow and ice everywhere. and we played Pebble Beach. And we did it in less than an hour. So it's one of the great bargains going out there. And with this holiday box, you get 1 month of Birdie membership. You get Back Nine branded golf balls. You get cozy Back Nine beanie, and you get premium Back Nine towel. So that's a hell of a deal, because basically it's unlimited golf. It's 24/7. You get a code to get you in the door, and then you can go from there. And it's definitely fun. It's the premises are pristine. I know we had a great time. We even played closest to the hole, a few shots on number 7, famed number 7 short par 3 at Pebble Beach the other day, and had a great time doing it. So if you're looking for that last minute gift for a golfer that you love, or yourself that you love, that you're a golfer, nothing wrong with giving yourself a gift at this time of the year. That's the Back Nine Golf holiday box, and it's only a limited time. And there, as you can imagine, there are only a few available. Quantities are tight. So check in at theback9golf.com.